Joseph James DeAngelo was born in Bath, New York in 1945. He is the oldest of 4 children, and his father was stationed in West Germany as a US Army sergeant. A family relative came forward with information regarding their time in West Germany. It was said that Joseph Jr., who was 9 or 10 at the time, had witnessed his sister being gang raped by 2 airmen. Come to his trial, his siblings tell the court that their father had abused him as a child. At some point, his family relocated to Sacramento, California, where he attended 2 different high schools, one of which was in Rancho Cordova from 1959 to 64. In September 64, he ended up joining the US Navy and served for 22 months during the Vietnam War as a damage controlman on cruisers. After his discharge, he attended Sierra College in August 69, later graduating with honours from an associate degree in police science. In May 1970, Joseph became engaged to Bonnie Jean Colwell, a classmate, but she broke it off when he became abusive, in one instance pulling a gun on her to force her to marry him. The breakup angered him so much that he would later say, "I hate you, Bonnie," to one of his victims. A year later, he attended California State University in Sacramento, obtaining a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He took postgraduate courses and police training at college and completed a police internship at Roseville Police Department. Joseph would prowl around the neighborhoods and then break into single-family homes, tearing apart the interior while only stealing small personal trinkets. Part of his modus operandi, he placed warning items, such as dishes or bottles against doors or door handles. His first reported crime was on March 19, 1974, but it is presumed that he might have begun as early as in 1968 or 69 or the mid-73s. This is because there were similar crimes that had been reported in 1968 and his sister had moved in the area in 1969. The ransacker was suspected of perpetrating a number of rapes and murders in the area. On September 11, 1975, while attempting to kidnap 16-year-old Beth Snelling, he ended up shooting her father, 45-year-old journalism professor Claude Snelling. This last known activity of the ransacker was on December 12, 1975, when he was caught prowling by a local detective, William McGowan. After feigning surrender, Joseph pulled out a gun and shot at the detective, shattering his flashlight before making his escape. Detective McGowan would later provide a description of the ransacker while under hypnosis, describing the shooter as baby-faced. On June 18, 1976, the first attack committed by Joseph as the East Area Rapist occurred in Rancho Cordova at 4 a.m. About 6 months and exactly 7 attacks later is when the community started to worry. The Sheriff's Department of Sacramento advised the news stations to not report the crimes. On October 18th, 2 attacks occurred on the same day, to which authorities held neighborhood meetings to inform civilians and stop false rumors. On April 2nd of 1977, after over 15 attacks had occurred, the first couple was attacked. On May 17th, Sacramento County was thrusted into a huge state of panic after the East Area Rapist threatened to murder his next 2 victims. As a result, the sheriff had patrols around increased and even civilians had formed their own patrols. However, the East Area Rapist sent a taunt to the increased security by attacking his first couple in Sacramento's South area near the office of a dentist who contributed an additional $10,000 to the $15,000 reward for him to be caught. On September 6th, the first couple was attacked in Stockton, and it led to the same effect as before with increased security. They believed that the East Area Rapist had relocated his crimes, so patrols in Sacramento disappeared, only for another couple to be attacked in the College Greens or Glenbrook area. On February 2nd, 1978, Brian and Katie Majoret were found dead, having been shot to death while walking their dog. Some investigators suspected that they had been murdered by the East Area Rapist because of their proximity to the other attack location and the fact that a shoelace was found nearby, which was used as a way to tie up his victims. On June 5, 1978, he turned up the first time in Stanislaus County, assaulting a couple living in northeast Modesto. Between that date and July 5th, 1979, he had been active in Modesto, Davis, Concord, Danville, San Ramon, San Jose, Vermont, and Walnut Creek. The attacks abruptly ended after an attempted attack on July 5th, 1979, when a potential victim, who was a light sleeper, woke up and found a man putting on a ski mask and chased him away. The East Area Rapist briefly resurfaced on October 1st, entering the home of a couple. These are pseudonyms that were used for them, which were Mary Brown and John Davis, and he tied them up. As he ransacked their house for valuables, the couple escaped and the intruder was forced to flee on a bicycle. The entire East Area Rapist's crime spree coincided with Joseph's service as an Auburn police officer from August 1976 to July 1979, when he was arrested for shoplifting, a hammer, and dog repellent, and the East Area Rapist ended suddenly in the same month as he was arrested. As a form of retaliation for being fired, Joseph went to the house of the chief of police. He had threatened to kill him earlier, and outside his home he started to peep through his daughter's window with a flashlight. However, it wasn't ever confirmed whether it was him or not, but it was deemed highly probable. In November 73, Joseph married Sharon Marie Huddle, and they relocated to Citrus Heights, where he lived before relocation to Exeter many years ago in 1983. On December 30th, 1979, Joseph committed his first murders as the original Night Stalker, killing Dr. Robert Offerman and Deborah Manning by shooting them both to death, presumably after Robert managed to escape from his bonds and attempted to fight back. On March 13th, 1980, the next victims were Lyman and Charlene Smith. They were found dead and were bludgeoned with a fireplace log. At this time, it was revealed that the bonds used to tie the victims were in a diamond knot. Months later, Keith and Patrice Harrington were also murdered, and then on February 5th, 1981, the original Night Stalker killed his first lone victim, Manuela Within. Following this, there were 3 more murders of Sherry Dominga and Gregory Sanchez on July 27th, and Janelle Lisa Cruz on May 4th, 1986. In 1990 or 91, the criminal made his last known contact with the public on a phone call he made to one of his victims. Then he disappeared completely, and no murders or rapes committed by him have followed. In 2001, a remarkable connection was made by authorities. It was discovered that the DNA of the original Night Stalker and the East Area Rapist belonged to the same person, making the unknown perpetrator the most prolific serial offender in California history. A hiatus for this stalker started from 81 to 86, coinciding with the fact that Joseph had his first daughter in 81 and his second daughter in 86. He eventually found work in Long Beach as a diesel mechanic. From 1990 until his retirement in 2017, he worked as a truck mechanic at a supermarket distribution center in Roseville. He was arrested in 96 over an incident at a gas station, but the charge was dismissed. In 1991, he and his wife separated. She would later, in 2018, file for divorce. 32 years after the ending of the killing spree and 45 years after the start of his crimes, Joseph DeAngelo was finally arrested on April 25, 2018. He was still living in Citrus Heights with one of his daughters and a grandchild at the time. Joseph had been identified 4 months earlier as the main suspect, when DNA from a rape case was uploaded to the Personal Genomics website Match. With help from a genealogist, Paul Holes, a sheriff who had worked on the East Area Rapist cold cases, and an FBI lawyer constructed a family tree based on the match results and narrowed it down to Joseph. After a DNA sample was collected from the door handle on his car, it was matched with samples related to the Golden State's killer crimes. This nickname came to be from a true crime writer, Michelle McNamara, who wrote an account on the East Area Rapist. The book was published on February 27, 2018, nearly 2 years after she had an accidental drug overdose and 2 months before his arrest. He was charged with 13 murders and kidnappings related to the original Night Stalker. On March 4, 2020, he offered to plead guilty if the death penalty was taken off the table. On 29th of June, he either admitted or pleaded guilty to all of his confirmed crimes. On 21st August 2020, he was given 12 life sentences without the possibility of parole plus 8 years. Joseph apologized to his victims during his sentencing, which was held in a ballroom where he graduated in 1972 from the University of Sacramento.